Very good afternoon to the members who are already in the auditorium. And I'm hoping more people would join in from the pleasures that they're having outside, which is basically a cup of coffee after a very tough fight because there's a huge queue out there. So I can understand the fact that it's taking time to fill up the auditorium. This session is about role of logistics and packaging in chemical industry. And I thought that it might be apt, since I'm in a university, to start off with this picture, which is of course from the movie. Anybody in the audience? Three Idiots, yes, thank you very much. And it's Rancho and Farhan and Raju, while they were doing, I suppose, the song All Is Well in the drum. So the context is not Farhan, Raju and Rancho, but it is a drum, which is a packaging material for bulk chemicals, and that is something that will get touched upon. Having said that, it's also a university, and I'm sure that there'll be students who are inventive, professors who are just like virus in that movie, and this could be an opportunity for them to break free in this particular overall, I would say, event. It's a great occasion to be out here, century celebration for this university, for this department, I should say, because it has, I think, preceded the university. So many congratulations to the students, the faculty, the alumni, and while of course Professor Mashelkar as well as Professor M.M. Sharma have left the audience, it has been an absolute privilege and honor to be in the same room itself with two Padma Vibhushans, and I'm sure the university and the alumni and the students out here are taking great pride in this particular occasion. So let me get going with my session, which should be around 15-20 minutes. Let's see. So I'm going to run a small video.
He moves his bulk honey around New Zealand and the world. Although his usual drums do the job, he wonders if there is a better alternative. He wants a professional look and functionality that may help him boost his revenue. He wants to portray quality and show his honey is the best in the world. He knows first impressions count. He's heard about the advantages of open-top drums, but has never seen them available. He knows open-top drums are preferred in Europe, the USA, and other large honey markets important to New Zealand. He heard that Global Honey Corp has teamed up with Balmer Lawrie and is the Australasian agent. Balmer Lawrie has the latest in drum manufacturing technology and is a global leader in sustainability and environmental responsibility. These drums sound like the solution Chris has been looking for, and, surprisingly, at a price he can afford. The features are incredible. They have a twin bung and open top locking ring combined with triple security options. This offers honey handlers easier filling and emptying options, which minimises waste. After talking to GHC, he has also discovered that these drums use heavier gauge CRCA steel. Because they are 18 kilogram W-bead corrugated, these drums have extra strength to stack with confidence. With UN, FDA and EU approval, these drums have the latest technology in epoxy coatings that effortlessly meet the strict global demand for food safety. With the vibrant colour of yellow and the distinguishable label of pure New Zealand honey, these drums will get noticed anywhere they travel. Global Honey Corp Pure New Zealand Honey Drums.
So this one, as you saw, is an advertisement which was created by one of our customers, Lawrie's customers. They distribute honey across the world, and this is what is known as Manuka honey. I don't know whether anybody has heard of Manuka honey. Anybody in the audience? Yeah? Tell me, sir, about Manuka honey. What is so special about it? Yeah. Excellent. So thank you. Gentlemen out here talked about the fact that Manuka has extremely good therapeutic properties. Actually, it's supposed to be produced only in New Zealand, where they have this Manuka flowers, though Australia also try to claim that Manuka is theirs as well. In fact, the cricket stadium in Canberra is called Manuka Oval, even though it's actually native to New Zealand. Now, the honey produced out of Manuka, or bees which have actually played around with Manuka flowers, is known as Manuka honey, as this gentleman said. It's extremely good as far as medicinal properties are concerned. There's something called MGO. I don't know what is the full form exactly, because I'm not a chemical guy out here. So MGO, it's got brilliant properties for antioxidant, antibacterial, etc., etc., etc. And a kg of that honey costs roughly around anything between 12 to 15,000 rupees in Indian rupees. 1 kg honey costs around 12 to 15,000 Indian rupees. Sorry? No, it will not be sweet, because the honey that Dabur produces costs around 407 rupees, 410 rupees. That possibly would be having certain artificial sweetness. But so I'm just giving you the contrast. So it's like, I don't know, 20 times, 30 times, 40 times the cost of the price of a bottle of honey, a kg of honey made in. So what is so special about this? The product I'm not going to talk about, but some of the things that we touched upon. It talked about FDA approval of the packaging. We are talking about the packaging. So this is a drum. This is a drum. So this is, of course, a prototype drum, but it will come in this size, 210-liter drum. It's one of the most popular industrial packaging. This one is closed top, but then when you open up, as they said, it's open top. So it has an inner lining, which is actually a lacquer, right? And that epoxy lacquer is food grade. So they talked about FDA approval. So if you look at a very simple thing, I mean, this is not even a chemical. It's supposed to be pure honey. But it's getting packed and getting distributed across the world from New Zealand to wherever. And it requires a packaging, which is something that will make sure that the integrity of the product is absolutely perfect, as well as the efficiency has to be there in terms of, because you don't want to end up spending too much on the packaging, which of course can be the case in certain cases. For example, I'll just talk about, it's a I would say an instruction for me as well. Say for example, when you purchase a kg of Alfonso mangoes, how much do you think it costs? Very expensive. A bottle of, a pack of juice coming out of that is also expensive. But Alfonso at the farm gate, which is used to produce pulp, would be around maximum 15 to 20 rupees a kg. So in a 200 or 150, a 180 liter drum, so it would be approximately 200 into 15, that's 3,000 rupees worth of pulp. That pulp goes into a particular kind of a aseptic packaging, okay, which is produced typically by very few manufacturers in the world. There's a leader called Goglio. Goglio sells a bag which costs around $8. $8 would mean around 650 rupees in order to package something which is 3,000. And that package that aseptic bag will stay in a drum which may be produced by us, which will cost around another, say, 1,500 rupees. So the cost of the product is 3,000. Cost of the packaging is almost 2,300, 2,400. So different things, different products are there which might be kept and packaged in different kind of things. And so industrial packaging, the whole context is very vast. So our presentation, my presentation is going to touch upon a very little bit of that. So I'm not going to talk about this because most of you people out here are chemical engineers and probably associated with the business of chemicals, so you know that it's a very big market. And in India, I think it is an exceptionally good opportunity right now. So it talks about, some of the last part is getting cut out, maybe GDP contribution. It's apparently 7% of GDP, huge employability. So it's a massive industry right now for the globe at large, and India as well. Now, if you look at the broad segments, you can see where the clusters are, what the products are, etc., etc. So I'm actually not going to spend too much time out here, but we are talking about, since this session is about packaging and logistics, so the last, or maybe the second last, and the previous second and the third bullets out here, best-in-class packaging and logistics network, right? So I've already touched upon a little bit of the relevance and the significance of packaging that can go in, but is this how does this whole packaging thing play out? Let's understand by referring to the value chain of what we are talking about, paint industry. So a paint, say a small can of paint from Asian Paints or Berger or anybody else would be a 1 liter small drum, maybe a small tin, but then that would have started off by bringing in some solvent, some resin, some additives, some pigments from somewhere else. Some of it is produced in India, some of it is getting imported. So if you look at the slide, it talks about bulk material coming through ships, through chemical tankers. Once it reaches the port, then it moves through tankers or through trucks, reaches a place where you can actually store and distribute. And what is the form of distribution? Typically, it would be drums like this, or this is actually going to hold 210 liters. Or there is another thing that I'm going to talk about, which is a 1 KL intermediate bulk container, they call it. So it's actually 5 times or maybe 4.5 times that of this drum. So this will move subsequently to a factory. The factory will produce the paint, whatever the paint is. Now, paint has multiple usage, so it can go, let's say, to an OEM, to an agency which is maybe even painting a factory or a ship and things like that, or it will go through a distributor retailer chain. So the way the packaging is being done, that will reflect the value chain. So initially when it has come in on huge bulk, then it has actually gone into some kind of intermediate, it has got produced into something which is a paint, and then it is moving out. So the wholesaler or the larger consumer would be having a bulk packaging, and the end consumer would be having a very, very end packaging, which will be a consumer packaging. So the most of the things that I'm going to talk about is about industrial packaging. Packaging also is actually split between industrial and consumer. So consumer, you even having, like say for example, this bottle of water. This bottle of water is also having a packaging, which of course is the PET bottle or whatever. So that's a consumer packaging. So the focus of what we are talking about is industrial packaging. Industrial packaging has got many, many forms and materials. So we are talking about steel drums. There could be large plastic containers. Corrugated boxes is a huge number. Glass is a huge packaging material. So lots and lots of different kind of things. So this is where we kind of touch upon industrial packaging in terms of size and relevance. So you can see tankers, you can see railway tankers, and then if you look at drums, I've already touched upon. And the choice of the packaging is made by looking at these parameters: cost effectiveness, efficiency of use, safety, convenience, storage. Now, if you look at this particular thing, drum, or I'm having a smaller drum as well out here. Now, and this is a container. This is a 20-foot container, let's say, which goes into a ship, or it can be placed on a truck and is moving around. This, as you can see, is a rectangular shape, or a cuboid, I would say. And when I'm trying to put a cylindrical thing like this inside, it can go in, of course, but then there would be certain loss of space, because obviously this is pi r square h, whereas otherwise it will be like L cube or H cube or whatever. And it would be packed completely, but then if you are having a cylinder, a set of cylinders on a pallet, in that case certain space would get unutilized. So here, when we are talking about packaging, we are talking, as I talked about, is about integrity and about efficiency, right? So the efficiency would help us, or would push us towards the second from right, which is the RIBC, rigid industrial bulk container. Additional inputs for our consumption out here is that what is known as the UN certification. You can see out here below. Dangerous goods and chemicals would typically have a clear classification by United Nations, I mean the UN. So there's Industrial Institute of Packaging in India, which will actually give a certificate saying that this is, and it is about the material, that is what is being filled in. It is about the plant where it is produced. It will talk about the packaging material and where the packaging material has been produced. What is the material, I mean, what is the thickness of this material? What is the kind of safety that it has undergone? So all of that is encapsulated out here. There's a codification. And this basically talks about how safe or how difficult, how challenging it is in order to transport the goods. So these are the kind of things that are getting considered for packaging, as well as to an extent also towards logistics. Now, as I did mention earlier itself, that this, while it is great, but then it has got certain challenges. One is that it is made out of steel, okay? And while steel, of course, is reusable, steel in fact is infinitely reusable, but after the first filling, when it goes to our customer, we are producing the drum, the customer fills it, sends it to that particular customer, it gets decanted, and after that, one doesn't know what to do, right? So it goes to scrap, or it goes to Raddiwala through some kind of very unorganized recycling means. So the 3 R's that were talked about in the earlier session actually applies to steel, but then the point is that how it exactly is going to be recycled is not known, because it's a completely unorganized sector. Now, earlier also we talked about, in the session itself, we talked about circular economy. Now, when circular economy comes in, that means packaging is actually, so the content inside is going to get utilized, but what will happen to the packaging? Can the packaging come back? That is what the issue is, and that is where there's a big role of what this is known as this IBC, because as you can see, the form is more conducive to getting into trucks and getting into trailers and things like that. And it is actually made out of plastic, and it has got recyclability of 6 to 8 times, right? So you can send it, they will, and there's a tap and things like that, and so you can actually use it only to the extent that you want, and then so it depends. So actually this potentially, I'm saying, because once again, this is a session, this is an institution of chemical engineering. So some of the EOQs or the process manufacturing parameters can change, because right now people are just producing in bulk and storing in tankers and then subsequently filling in drums and moving. So maybe this 1 KL kind of packaging can drive the change in terms of the production size or the batch size. But this is also an excellent method for exports, because right now, India, of course, it's not a question of right now. Export is a big opportunity, and as you can see, some of the exporters are there listed down, some of the major ports are there, some of the major chemicals are there. But typically, the exporters are using these RIBCs because the customers that they are actually catering to, they are probably giving more premium to ESG and sustainability and so on and so forth. And there is a completely established circular economy out there where these pallets, these IBCs are actually retrieved, cleaned, washed, and once again put into use. It need not come back to India. It can, but it need not come back to India. But there would be a usage of this particular IBC in the economy and the ecosystem out there. Now, if you come to the logistics part, so I've touched upon packaging, I'm going to touch upon logistics now. There's a small comparison between mode share, right? So as you can see, India is very heavily dependent on road. And it is not true just for chemicals, it is true for every kind of transportation. We are heavily dependent on road. Whereas in other parts of the world, I'm not having the data for Europe, but everywhere else, the transport share or the mode share is much higher with rail, with inland waterways, and wherever possible waterways in the sense inland as well as coastal. Air is always very minuscule, but then right now for India, road is huge. Now, a previous speaker from ONGC, who of course was talking about fossil fuels, but then the more and more road transport that you use, it's that much more polluting, that much more inefficient, and so on and so forth. And hence the shift is going to happen more towards maybe other means. So there is a lot of just like the way I did a layout to help you understand as to how the packaging is in sync with shift from bulk to consumer packaging. Here also you can see a simple supply chain. So typically imports will happen in tankers, and after that bulk tankers will move that, and then subsequently when it is moving, it can actually move through various other means also. Now, if it is possible, we look at logistics opportunities where we can move instead of roadways or through rail. In that case, those kind of designs, those kind of product compliances, etc., will make a lot of, I would say, sense in terms of making sure that we align with what the industry and what the sustainability requirements are demanding of us. Very simple things out here. So, once again, like the way we talked about that compatibility, that MSDS, Material Safety Data Sheet, is very important. And with that, you have to make sure that your packaging as well as the logistics are mapped on. Road infrastructure, massive improvement is expected. Huge investments in NHAI and many other things. Those are happening not just for chemical industry, but for everything. But the beneficiary, one of the beneficiaries would be chemical, of course, as an engineering and as an industry, I would say. And as modern warehousing equipment comes in, instead of dependency on humans or on certain equipment where an individual is pushing a drum, hand pallet truck, etc. So more modern equipment, forklifts, etc. will be used. So you'll see the shift happening. So we can talk about, once again, chemicals. There's a wonderful scheme that government is promoting, which is known as SFTO, Special Freight Train Operator, that's applicable for certain specific industry verticals, and some chemicals actually come into that, because right now government and the industry ecosystem is actually facing a huge crunch in railway rakes. You probably would have heard about coal not having rakes in order to move to power plants, hence the power outage and industry running dry. And it is happening across the system where railways is actually desperate to have rakes. In fact, they've launched, I think, they've issued out tenders for 150,000 wagons to be manufactured over a span of time. So similarly, these tanker rakes, that would be a very apt kind of, I would say, logistics mode for chemicals, bulk chemicals, as and when it's available. So there is an opportunity for industry to invest in these kind of things as well. Waterways, great effort being taken in terms of how the waterways are going to change. So there are already NW1, NW2, so these things are there. So wherever opportunities are there, if people are able to move things by barges or through other means which are actually more conducive, that will be great. So this is also a great opportunity for Indian industry, chemical as well. So I think these are somewhat known. I don't want to belabor the points of the challenges faced in chemical logistics. Huge product segment, focus on QSHE because safety is super important, because we have already had, I mean, it has been in public domain, various incidents of explosions. Of course, more comes from storage, less from transportation, but then storage, inadequate safety, inadequate handling, all of that is coming broadly in the gamut of packaging and logistics. A large number of stakeholders, intensive and distributed supply chain. So all of this contribute towards the challenges and the difficulties of logistics in the chemical overall scheme of things. You can take a look at it. So there's not much, but then of course pilferage is a huge thing. Pilferage, especially crude and various kind of products. So there's a lot of I think effort going on to ensure integrity. Once again, there are dipstick surveys, and that is where there are opportunities for new things, innovative things to come up and help the overall logistics as well as packaging domain. I think repeating, so I'm not going to spend too much time. So this is where we are, various kind of challenges we talked about in terms of the modes of transportation, various kind of challenges also on account of regulatory things. So huge opportunities if you look at the boosting of capacity, port capacity, infra, all of this is bound to help. See, there is a statistic which logistics players keep using across India. I don't know whether anybody is aware. So we talk about typically 13 to 14% of the being the cost of logistics in India of GDP, 13 to 14%. In international or global developed kind of economies, that is typically around 8 to 9%. So that means a product which is getting produced in India becomes 5% less competitive when you're talking in the global context because of logistics and warehousing and packaging and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of effort going on in the government policy framework, policy making, etc., to make sure that we are able to narrow the gap. And some of the initiatives that have come in, say for example, even FASTag, like for example, there's a concept called, we are in the business of container freight stations, so imported containers when they come, so customers which are basically importers, they can take direct port delivery. So there are many things which are happening. You probably are aware of the Sagarmala initiative, the Golden Quadrilateral. So many things are happening on the infra space, maybe not necessarily at the desired pace that we would like, but then the effort is continuous, and the place that I think government is making a big difference is with the I would say adoption of technology. Some of you people may have been aware of PM Gati Shakti. Gati Shakti is actually a wonderful thing where 16 ministries are actually pulling in data regarding projects. Typically, projects get delayed in India, cost overruns, time overruns, primarily on account of approvals. So if you are having one particular place where all ministries are there, all agencies are there, and they can give the approvals, in that case, projects move fast. And lots such initiatives. There's a concept called ULIP, Unified Logistics Information Portal or something like that, which is going to be like UPI. So any player, because this is a diverse thing, any player who comes in, they would be having a, I would say, technology platform where one is able to hear the other and one is able to talk to the other, and hence make things move very fast. So a lot of initiatives out there, and I'm sure logistics are going to be very, very efficient, and chemical as an engineering discipline as well as an industry will benefit out of it. So I started off with a movie poster of Three Idiots, and now this is another one. So this is Beautiful Mind. People know about Beautiful Mind? So it's about Nash, who was suffering from various kind of deficiency, but that doesn't matter. He came up with Nash's equilibrium and got himself a Nobel Prize. And out here, there are a lot of noble minds who are actually probably having very great, I would say, engineering as well as scientific acumen. But then there is coolie number one, so that is me, because I am doing the cooligiri of moving logistic stuff from one place to the other. So this is a complete, I mean, I am actually like a fish out of my domain or water or pond. But then let me use this to talk a little bit about Balmer Lawrie and what we are here for. So we are actually a very old organization. We are now 156 years old, 157 years old. And we come under Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gases. We are a PSU. We do a lot of diverse things. So we do certain manufacturing stuff, and then we are doing services. So I am representing the services portfolio largely because I'm Director of Services, and that is why I spoke about logistics as well as, but then we've got also a vertical on industrial packaging, and that is where we produce these drums, and I talked about that. One of the things that we also do is travel and vacation. So many of you probably would be seeing there's a stall outside where you can take certain pamphlets about what we do in holidays, and you can also win yourself a holiday package. There is a lucky dip going, so you can drop in your card, or if you don't have your card, you can fill in the names and details, and we'll do a lucky dip after lunch, I think, and then see who's a lucky couple who can go to Goa for 2 nights and 3 days on Balmer Lawrie expense. Apart from that, I'm here also to talk about very briefly what this partnership can mean with Jadavpur University. So we are having one business unit which is on chemicals, and we are producing chemicals for leather industry, and also we are working towards producing chemicals for textile and agrochemicals industry. Also, we are having a very large business of ours for which it is known largely in Calcutta, greases and lubricants. So we are producing different kind of lubricants for the auto industry as well as industrial applications are there, lots of railways, mining, various kind of things. So there's a very thriving R&D setup for both these kind of businesses, and where if there are opportunities to partner with Jadavpur University or with the alumni or with the students, it would be a welcome opportunity for us. We are also looking at the possibility of coming up with an ethanol plant which will help towards the country's progress towards E20. Last but not the least, we are having a startup program. So we have a startup fund. We have actually now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have made 5 investments, or we have decided to make 5 investments. 2 of them are in the due diligence stage. And we are partnered with IIM Calcutta Innovation Park in order to work on the technical as well as on the business aspects of a particular idea which comes to us. So if there are people out here who are willing to come and make efforts towards through startups, or if there is an incubating setup out there in Jadavpur University, may not be necessarily only in chemical department, but could be wider Jadavpur University, it would be an opportunity and honor for us to look at collaboration where you can be a technical partner, technical cooperation partner, or whatever for the thing, for the startups. I think that pretty much it. And yes, I'm thanking you for giving me a patient hearing, and any kind of questions, if at all, I can take, or I can take offline, because I know the lovely and very, very disciplinarian mistress of ceremony is after me. Thank you very much.